You called it. You called it, man. Benny dropped his album.
Yeah, yeah. It was coming. It
Benny
was
the
coming.
Butcher dropped his album. Not only did Benny drop his album, Black Thought dropped his album, T.I. dropped the album. And honestly, man, T.I.'s album is kind of the sleeper, man. Let's welcome everybody into the room. We're going to talk some hip hop. We always talk about new
Whoa,
music on a Friday. You know what it is, A2HH
what's
Live.
happening?
How's your week been, man?
You know me, Mike. You know what my grind look like.
I
So
hear
it's
that.
Friday. I'm tired as hell, and my work week
You
is about
called
to
it, man.
start. But blessed and highly favored, peace to all. You
Peace,
know,
everybody.
week, nigga, we made
Yeah,
it.
made it through another week, and we woke up to some good music too. Did you hear the Joey Badass and Nas song, Static Selector record?
You want to know what's crazy? I mean, I usually check for the Nas record. I didn't check for it because we were laced with so much material today.
Album
I,
wise.
I mean, album wise, I had to. I mean, Mike, I've listened to Benny twice today, Ti twice today, and Thought twice today, and I don't even know how I pulled that off and still made my moves. My
Well,
hey, look, my daughter had to hear Benny coming back from the botanical gardens.
yo, all right, listen. Since we talk about Benny, and I'm gonna tell you, I like the Nas and Joey Badass record the Static Selector did. I thought it was dope.
It
They
was
were kind
dope.
of going back and forth, but let's
For
talk
what?
about yeah.
What?
It was a dope record. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, sir. I liked it, and I'm surprised you didn't go to that first since it was one song. But
No, I was on my work shit, not on
what?
my personal shit.
With all that being said, man, what are your first thoughts of Benny the Butcher's Burden of Proof album?
It's a really good project, Mike. I mean, I do want to give him some flowers. It's a really good project.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to just go ahead and go in and just start letting it go?
Go in, son.
About a month ago, I said Hit Boy was the producer of the year, right?
You said that.
First of all, I'm taking that back.
Huh?
Alchemist is the producer of the year.
Wow.
I felt that way before I listened to this album, but quite frankly, what this album is missing is
Mm-hmm.
Darren, you're an alchemist.
Yes.
And so the album is good, and I like some of the tracks on here production wise. I'm not saying the tracks here are like whack, but it's a little bit too happy for Benny's taste for me, overall, or about at least half of it's just too happy for me.
Well, shout
I
out
want
to
to be
everybody in the room. I don't want to interrupt you or whatnot. We're gonna get into it, but I want to hear what some of the people in the room got to say. Tell your friends that we on because there's a lot of music to go over today. Um,
yeah.
JJ Ryder, who is a faithful with us, he said Benny didn't fail us. 4.9, excuse me. It would have been 5, but the song "Timeless" wasn't necessary. I think Hit Boy shouldn't have done the entire album, and I'm convinced that Benny wants to be an industry rapper. We have to accept that. LOL. Shout out to Jeffrey Young. He said, "Who's truly the queen of rap?" We can get into that later. And Lawrence said Mickey Fax is definitely underrated. Get a man his flowers. Yes, shout out to Mickey Fax. He just jumped off the interview with us. But yes, I think that was what you and I spoke about. First of all, I was kind of taken aback when I found out Hit Boy was doing the whole album. And like you just said, no Alchemist and no Behringer. And it's like, okay, well, the Griselda sound that we're also used to, I feel like this album is not bad, but it's missing that grit. It's missing that grittiness that we're used to from Griselda. And yes, I agree with Jay when it sounds like Benny does want to be an industry rapper. And I guess we must accept that.
Okay. So let's wow,
Unpack
it's a
all
lot
that.
to go back. Okay, so it is missing some grit. The album's good. Like my first listen, I didn't like it at all. I texted you and told you that I was disappointed. Um, the second listen, when I actually got to ride in my car and ride to it, it has a real it has mule drivers music kind of feel to it to me, Mike. Like it's for the people out there pushing it state to state in terms of the vibe, in terms of how it consistently keeps you nodding. It literally is something to ride to take your mind off of what you're doing. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So I can feel the hustler's ambition side of it from that level, but The best way I can, Mike, Gods Don't Bleed. I wanted tracks like that, and I wanted verses like that.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack. Had my first daughter with my first wife. Caught my first quarter, took my first strike. Set up by a nigga I served twice. Then he bitched up. He got picked up like he was about to serve life. Like, I wanted to hear that shit. Because that's the shit that got him this buzz. And so, like, I hear that whole wanna be an industry rapper thing. Most great industry rappers don't necessarily want to be great industry rappers. It has a tendency to happen.
I feel like it was, I don't want to say it like this, but it was Burden of Proof, first of all, reminded me of the title Reasonable Doubt. And I got the inclination that Benny was kind of on some Jay-Z shit on this record. And it felt like just the themes. Even when he said that comment about, you know, even with Kobe wearing 5 rings, he'd still be compared to Mike. I felt like he was kind of chasing that, you know, that dealer, hustler, but I'm a lyricist thing, which Jay owns, let's be honest. And not to mention his Rockefeller, his Rock Nation ties and all that. Jay says, I had a Rockefeller 2001 feel. It had a Rockefeller 2001 feel to it. Tasha Irvin says, "My kings, bless you all. Bless you too, sister." Go ahead.
Listen to all the Jay is saying all these things. Like, well, Jay, brother, like, it's not a 4.9 if you're saying all those things. like 2001, Rockefeller didn't necessarily make any classic albums.
Well, the Blueprint came out that year, but I know what you mean.
Hold on. Oh, Blueprint is 2001. I mean, so they have the Blueprint. But this don't sound like the Blueprint, but it does sound like Rockefeller in 2001.
Yeah.
The good part and the bad part of it, and that's what I mean about it sounding a little too happy.
It did. I think Hit Boy was, you know, and I hate to say it like this because
you want to know what? Like Benny, what Benny did well on this album, he kind of established his steez real well. Like the grit, the grind, the picture that he's painting, the reason that he's doing it. He solidified himself in terms of what he's doing and what his approach is. It's just really beat-wise, some of these tracks telling us like, no, I want to hear him say that again over something that RZA, Havoc, Derringer, or Alchemist made. And I don't mean that to knock Hit Boy. It's, Mike, one of the things that makes King Disease beautiful isn't the fact that Hit Boy's doing different tracks, is that he's able to do different tracks and get away with it because vocally, Nas is special. Like, the voice is special.
Right.
You can put that voice on anything. Benny doesn't have one of those voices, and he's like Jay in that.
Yeah.
And so he has to get selective like Jay in that. So Hit Boy can go everywhere with somebody like Nas, because Nas is like Big, like Method Man, like Pac. Like almost every beat you hear them on, you're like, well, yeah, but I still want to hear it, because like, listen to that guy's voice. Benny doesn't necessarily have that. Jay didn't have that either, and it's still, you know, considered to be the best of all time by a lot of people. So, you know, it's not like it's some sort of big obstacle, but you got to be mindful of the track selection. And I don't know. What did Conway say on a lot of albums is starting to sound very Griselda-esque?
Yeah.
I wanted the album to sound Griselda-esque, and it doesn't, but it's a good album.
I didn't understand the choice of picking Hit Boy to do the whole thing in the first place, because even when that happened, I was kind of taken aback in the sense where I knew that, okay, we're not going to get the Griselda offering that we've anticipated from Benny. And I think that Benny has had the most anticipated effort of that crew, and possibly of hip-hop in 2020, period, after Paris, after Pray for Paris came out, we were looking for Benny. Conway just hit us from the side. Like, we didn't even see Conway coming like that. And honestly, Conway's album is killing Benny's.
No. I told you, Mike. I told you Conway was over there watching Benny get all that buzz and all that pub like he got next, and he was watching his little brother make Album of the Year. I told you Conway was coming. And if we want to just stay on Conway briefly, the best verse on this album is Conway's verse on Warpaint. And the best verse on T.I.'s album is Conway's verse on the song with Tip. Conway is the best MC in the game right now. That was one of my takeaways from today because he spit 2 verses. I was like, I think those are the 2 best. Those are 2 of the 5 best verses I've heard today, and I just listened to Black Thought's album twice.
We're gonna get to Black Thought too, and we're gonna get to that T.I. album as well. I still think even after hearing Black Thought's album that Conway is MC of the year. You got your right camera on, right? Because I know you kind of. I don't know if it's that same camera. But let me go to the comments real quick.
No, like you're a genius. Hold on.
No, do your thing. I'll go to these comments real quick. Mastermind says the album was a classic. I bumped it like 100 times. I think he's talking about Benny's. Yeah, there you go. You look a lot better now. No, you cool. Quan Norick said he liked it. Talking about Benny's album.
I like it. No, I like it. So hold on.
They say T.I.'s album is an instant classic.
Hold on, back all the way up with that. Back all the way up with that. Like we have to frame things properly. Like that's why I was talking about his buzz last week, Mike, before we started talking about this album. I'm talking about this album in respect to what his buzz is, not what it sounds like. If this was just getting made by anybody, I would probably call it great. I'm basing it on the expectations for what people are telling me that he is. Not even what I think, what other people are saying that he is. Like somebody went on one of our comments earlier this year, Mike, and said Benny never had a bad verse butcher.
I remember that.
You feel me?
Yeah,
And people are talking like that. And so, I'm going to gauge you against those expectations and the expectations of the music that I'm hearing coming out of your camp. So when I'm saying that it's good, I'm saying it's good in relationship to all of those things. If all of those things probably were not in effect, I would call it great. But those things are in effect, so it's
I don't think it's great on any standard, even if those things weren't in effect. All right, what are you rating it? What are you rating it out of 5? And you know me, man. Benny's my favorite one out of the crew. At least he was. I think I might be on the Conway train now, but.
My takeaway after today is I'm glad Conway's my favorite MC in this crew, and this album is one of the reasons why, because it's like when Conway feels slighted, he makes stuff like From a King to a God.
But what would you rate this out of 5? What do you rate?
I would give it 4. There's some really good stuff on here. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't get what I'm saying twisted. I'm talking I'm talking realistically in relationship to the expectations for him.
What are your highlights from this album? Like
that's what I'm about to go through.
Go for it.
At first I didn't like Where Would I Go, but then I started listening to it again and seeing what him and Ross were doing with it. Where Would I Go is dope. The highlights are Sly Green, Trade It All, Thank God. The epic is War Paint. You know, the best song is the Griselda song. But those are the highlights to me. I really listened to Thank God. I made it on the way home and Trade It All. And, you know, Benny has a lot of things that Jay does have, in the sense that he knows how to keep his hustlers steez and still get introspective. He's not as good as Jay at it, but Jay's like the best ever at doing that. So, you know, not fair to compare him to that guy.
Right.
So there's some highlights. And I'm going to be honest with you. I would probably, how about this? If the beats on this album were more like War Paint, the Griselda track, I would probably give it 4.5. How about that? If the beats were more like that, because that's more in the pocket for like him just sounding like a menace and a monster on it. And it's like, so I don't care what kind of industry rapper he may necessarily want to be. I'm talking about what the expectations are, what's been working for him. Like the stuff that I love hearing him on, Tito's Back, Cruiserweight Coke off the Griselda album, George Bondo, Brutus, Gods Don't Bleed. Mike, that's what, I mean, I'm not saying you have to do that, but stylistically, beat-wise, I was expecting at least half this album to sound like that beat-wise. It only sounds like that on War Paint, and it's kind of middling sounding like that.
Right.
You know?
Nah, I mean, I can't really say I'm disappointed in a sense, because, again, I think that the approach was cool. I think that he had a menacing approach. I just think that outside production kind of took them a little bit off brand. I think that
Mike.
the single that he put out last week, we kind of alluded to the fact that they were off brand, and at that point, I kind of expected the project to be off brand. And when he announced that Hit Boy was producing the whole album, it solidified that for me. So that part makes it where it's not disappointing, but
You know, I mean, Gibbs is like the honorary Griselda member at this point, right? 'Cause
that's
I
my
missed
favorite
One Way
song
Flight.
on there, actually.
I about to say I missed One Way Flight, and you want to know what? Gibbs makes One Way Flight a great song, particularly with the verse at the end, because you don't expect them to come in. It's like, oh, they just got Gibbs on the hook on this one. You're getting used to hearing Gibbs with Griselda so much anyway, and you're like, oh, he just laced them with a hook this time. Okay,
Right.
that's cool. Then he comes in with the verse, and you're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And so
He killed it.
like I said, Mike, and he killed it. So the album is good. It has its surprises. The talk is real greasy. You know what I'm saying? All the hustlers is gonna love it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you can ride to it. It's just I'm weighing it on the expectations, Mike. I mean, when I talked about his buzz last week, I talked about Jada kissing Method Man.
Mm-hmm. And this is giving us more of a Tikal type of reaction. No disrespect. But
Mike, there's no Bring the Pain on here.
No, it's not. I was gonna ask you something before we go on to T.I. Now,
can I say one more thing about this album real quick and about Griselda?
Well, yes. I was gonna talk about Griselda and where you actually placed this in the Griselda releases of 2020 so far, since we're talking Wu-Tang and shit.
Okay, well, you want to know? I just wanted to point out that like Westside's getting real nice with the hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Like his hook on the Locks album, like the hooks that he's been doing lately, I can see that he's honed in on his hook game. You know, it's funny. A lot of people say he's not a dope MC, and it's kind of like he's evolving and transitioning as an artist so well into so many different things. His hook game is getting super tight. You know what I mean? Part of what makes Warpaint so dope is part of the reason why I like Tito's back. It's like got Westside feeling all over the track, but it's got Conway and Benny spitting on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where would you place this one? You know, obviously we got Pray for Paris that is in
Pray
many
for Paris,
people's.
From a King to a God, those are easy choices. Now, here's the thing that's funny. Is A Price of Tea in China by Boldy James technically a Griselda album? Because it didn't get released on Griselda, but the Versace tape did. So are we calling A Price of Tea in China a Griselda album? Because if we are, A Price of Tea in China is better than this too. And so is the Versace tape.
Well, you know what? Clint has a good point. Before we go there, I guess if we're going to put this against Tana Talks and Plugs I Met, this is obviously third, right? I mean, I thought that kind of went without saying. I mean,
it's definitely not as good as Plugs I Met, Mike. I mean, the way y'all talk about Tana Talk, I mean, I haven't listened to it in a while. Maybe I need to go back and hear it again. It's been, shoot.
I'll tell you this, ain't no rubber bands and weight on this album at all.
Oh, Rubber Bands and Weight on Tana?
Yeah.
Is that Tana?
Yeah.
No,
ain't no rubber bands and weight on it.
Oh, no. That's it right there. That's what, I mean.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, ain't no rubber. I listen to that all the time. So, yeah, that's.
No, I feel you. No, I feel you. That's a banger.
So, yeah, I don't know if you can see the image.
What I'm saying, I've been hearing tracks off Tana Talk like when it be circulating through my playlist, but I haven't like listened to Tana Talk in a minute. Like,
it's dope.
Yeah.
Now, I know in this image that we posted today on According to Hip Hop, we were kind of going through Griselda's 2020, and we got Pray for Paris on there, obviously. You got Fly God 2's on there. Who Made the Sunshine? You got The Liz. You got Lulu. You got Conway's From a King to a God. Obviously, Benny just dropped Burden of Proof. And the other collaboration album that Conway dropped.
LTD.
Yes. Sorry, yeah. So where would you? Do you think this album is better than The Liz?
Hold on. No, Mike, we got to get the Boldy thing clear first. Like, is A Price of Tea in China a Griselda album?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. We could put Price of Tea in China as a Griselda album.
So Pray for Paris, From a King to a God, A Price of Tea in China. Those are the top 3 albums that come out of Griselda this year. After that, your 4 to 7 is all like within the same range, depending on what you like to hear. For me personally, I would probably go to Fly God 2.
Over
After
Who
this,
Made the Sunshine?
no, actually, no. I'm sorry. Who Made the Sunshine? I would go to Who Made the Sunshine after this, and then I would call a tie between the Liz and this and Fly God 2. Like all those albums are literally like on the same line to me.
I
Fly
can
God 2
literally
and Liz are all
agree.
on the same line.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest, and I know Jay is about to go crazy because he's a huge fan of the Liz. I rock with the Liz. Somebody earlier asked who's the best female in hip hop in 2020. If
No,
I
it's
were,
Armani.
I think Armani sees it. I really enjoy the Liz. I really enjoyed the
No,
Liz.
I enjoy the Liz too, but I feel like all three of those albums, the highlights are really what make the album, and I think that's why I would put it the same. The Liz is better produced than the other two, but the highlights are all on the same spectrum, and all three of those albums are really good, but none of those albums are necessarily great.
Right.
And they would all be in the same range. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Mike, A Pray for Paris is a classic. From a King to a Glide is probably going to go down as a classic. A Price of Tea in China is great. The Versace tape. I forgot the Versace tape, Mike. I like the Versace tape more than this. I like both of Boldy's records more than this.
So it sounds like you got Burden of Proof around like 7th in the camp this year.
Hold on. Do I have to rank it? Do I got to go by Pray for Paris, From a King to a God, A Price of Tea in China, Who Made the Sunshine? The Versace tape and the Liz is a tie for me, and then I would probably go to Benny. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I don't even think that the anticipated.
And then Conway's earlier two projects, Ghost LTD and then Lulu.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess for me, I think I'm looking at about a 3.5 out of 5. This is a 3.5 for me.
No. That's gonna be hard to say, Mike, because here's the thing. This is better than Big Sean's album to me.
I was gonna, you know what? I was gonna ask about that. I don't think so, and maybe because for me, I didn't expect Big Sean to put together an album like this. I was really impressed by Big Sean's album, and I think that a lot of people are sleeping on Big Sean's album.
Benny's album, Mike.
I like Benny better as a rapper, but I think it's
okay. Mike, the Burden of Proof, Sly Green, One Way Flight,
okay,
and War Paint are all just as good as the best record on Big Sean's album, which is Full Circle, right?
Yeah.
All five of those records are as good as Sean's best record. Like,
okay.
No, that's why I'm giving it a 4, because if Sean's a 4, that's why I'm telling you, Mike, if the production on... How about this? If he would have went like Illmatic and diversified the production, this would be a 4.5. I get why other cats like it, but I'm not handing out hall passes and shit like other cats are today.
You convinced me. Yeah. It is. I think we can all agree it's a 4.
On here, Mike. There's heat on here. It's just not what it's supposed to be because it's him.
Yeah.
Because this is straight up produced by Hit Boy and Derringer and Alchemist and Havoc, and Preem needed some run on here. At least, how about this? This is 12 joints. He needed at least one joint apiece from the 4 producers I just named.
Yeah.
And this would be a whole nother conversation.
Quick question. Yeah. Did Westside Gunn executive produce this? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't see how.
I would doubt it. Yeah. I think that's a big piece that's missing.
Even for some of these beats, that's what I'm saying. I like some of these records, but I find myself like, but another Hit Boy track, not this Hit Boy track.
Right.
You know? Even, how about this, Mike? I would have liked if he would have, like, what if he would have got 27 Summers instead of Nas? I would have liked to hear Benny rap on that.
Yeah.
Like, even something like that. Not even, like, it's kind of moody. You know what I'm saying?
I think this is...
Moody. That's why it's like I don't get the happy shit. It's like he's a moody motherfucker.
And you know what? That's the crazy part. I think he sounds the best on the darkest shit. Like,
that's what I mean.
Because Conway was able to get on the lighter stuff, and it was seamless on From a King to a God. The Murder Beats track really wasn't dark.
Because he's the MC of the crew that I've been telling you.
Yeah.
He's the MC. He's the guy that you can put on anything, a la Nas, a la Jay. He's that kind of MC. Benny is more like my steez.
Yeah. Jay says Westside Gunn failed us. It's his fault. he knew damn well Hit Boy couldn't produce an entire Griselda album. I do think West Side Gun is the MVP of Griselda.
I'm about to say, he's like, Conway said it best, West owned the land, but I did the construction.
What y'all want us to talk about next? The T.I. album or the Black Thought album? Is people fucking with the...
either way, yeah.
You know what?
Any final Benny thoughts?
I think he needs to drop another album before the end of the year.
Mike, you took the words right out of my mouth. My thought after listening to this for the third time, which is when I just started skipping through stuff to make sure I'd heard what I heard and finalized my opinion.
Yeah.
I said to myself, it's like, I hope he drops some shit around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Like some real like remember how Jeezy used to drop around Christmas and like it wouldn't be like no happy shit, it would just be some straight dope music.
Yeah.
Some of that, Mike.
Okay.
All that.
Well,
yeah.
The T.I. album was surprising for me. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I like Dime Trap actually, but
I mean, Dime Trap is solid, but it's not this.
What were your thoughts on this T.I. album? I remember hearing you saying this is the best album he put out since Paper Trail.
Those are my thoughts.
Okay.
That's the thought. Sticking with that thought, because you want to know what? He's actually rapping his ass off on this album. He hadn't done that in a minute. He's rapping on here. Mm-hmm. Now, it's hard at this point in the career when you've chosen the subject matter that he's chosen for it to not sound redundant. So there is some redundancy in effect, but he does a masterful job of masking it with the guest appearances. And his guest appearances are wonderfully put together in the sense that the tracks that these guys are on are the tracks that they're supposed to be on. He put everybody in position very, very well.
It's a lot of features on here. What do you think about that? I got the people looking at the track list right now, so you can kind of name some of the highlight tracks too if you need to.
What album is this for him? Is this like album number 10 or 11, right?
I thought it was 11, yeah, because I think Dime Trap was
11.
10.
Dime Trap was 10, right?
Yeah.
So this is not album number 11. So right. I'm going to kind of go the same King's Disease route with a couple things. It's like, first of all, it's the best shit he's made in a long time. Dime Trap was cool, Mike. I think the Atlanta Anus coming out on that. Dime Trap was cool. It was solid. This is dope. As in, like, this has somebody, me personally, who thinks that he's the second best MC to ever come out of Atlanta and one of the 5 best MCs to ever come out of the South. I was surprised. And
second best, huh? We'll get to that too.
Second, knows number 1, Mike. Everybody knows number 1. But he did a wonderful job of making a very good album, even though he's past his prime. And even though this isn't like laced with hits per se, or so to speak, it's a really quality album. And it's even more quality in the sense when you look at the fact it's like, Mike, it's a lot of guest features, but it also is clocking in at 1 hour and 8 minutes, 20 songs, I think like 4 interludes. But, you know, he spit a lot on this album, even though there's a lot of features, because it's a lengthy project. And I told you, this album and the Royce album are the only albums that are over 1 hour long this year that I even like.
I think that the features did a few things.
I think Lil Baby's original album isn't even 1 hour long. It's like 50-something minutes. But yeah.
I'm going to go back to the track list for the people out there. What's y'all favorite song on this T.I. album, if you've heard it so far?
Half Ticket. Half Ticket.
It's a Half Ticket?
Yeah, Half Ticket. Hit Dogs Holler. Mike, the first 5 songs is going.
What about Make Amends?
Yeah, that's dope too. Like, how about this? The first 5 songs, that's when I texted you. I was like, the tip shit going hard right now.
You know, I liked Ring anyway, you know what I'm saying? He actually had Young Thug rapping. I
texted you after the first 5 tracks because I kind of had to like stop and get my shit together because I was like, oh shit, it's like T.I. making some really dope shit.
I like the feature with like you said, Hit Dog Holler with Tokyo Jets.
No,
that shit was hard. I like the Snoop record with Jeremiah. I mean, it was that.
Here we go with that happy shit again.
Yeah, it's smooth, man. That's Snoop's lane.
You know what? He has to do that for his audience that's his age. I understand that. But,
LB said Family Connection. Quan said Kiss, Kill, Make Amends. Moon Juice got West Coast beat on it.
Make Amends is dope too. It took me a minute to get into the track on Make Amends, but they made up for it. And here's why I would compare it to King's Disease too. Some of the aren't necessarily the best beats, but they sound good because it's him, and he's a great MC. And he showcases that on some of the tracks where maybe the track isn't where it should be, but he's where he should be, and he's who he should be, and he makes the record better. And that's what great MCs are supposed to do. So it's like pleasantly surprised, but shouldn't be too surprised. He's done this before. It's just been a minute. Really dope project.
Well, I mean, you talk about, you know, MCs being past their prime, and that's no disrespect. Because I honestly feel like, you know, skill-wise, I think T.I. can rap just as good as he's ever rapped. But it's one of those things.
No, Mike. No.
No.
That's not true.
No.
That's not true. No. See, you be talking shit like about Andre, but then like you'll say something about that like Tip, like that's no, Mike.
What I was gonna say.
He's not. No. The guy that's on Urban Legend and King.
Down with the King and all that. But see, that's young energy.
That guy, Mike. No. You talking like he's that guy. You know he's not that guy anymore.
Okay.
Nobody's asking him to be that guy because that guy is how he got to be like one of the 5 best MCs in the South like ever.
Yeah. On 106 in Park, I can see the hate in your heart. On the squad, when I see you, I'm gonna tear you apart. Yeah, I mean he's not that. But I think the approach is different.
He's not supposed to be either.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. If we're talking about MCs past their prime, you're still able to make good music, and the standard is a little different, right? Like we were just talking about Benny's project, and Benny is in his prime, right? So we expect more.
No, you mean the standard is different artist to artist? You mean?
I think the standard is different depending on what point in your career you're in. Like, we don't expect a player that's like 12 years in the league to be putting up numbers like he was at 6 years in the league. I mean, it's just a different approach.
No, Mike. No, Mike. That depends on the player. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like about Benny's album, I'm weighing it based on what type of player I've seen him be and what other cats are saying and what they've been telling me. And so, like, they're telling me he's a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm going to grade you like a Hall of Famer gets graded. And also, too, let's go around on T.I. T.I. already is a Hall of Famer. And so, much like I told you when King's Disease dropped, let's not be surprised when Hall of Famers do Hall of Fame shit.
Let me ask you this, though. For artists at this point in their career, album 11, do we want to see them make albums pretty much by themselves or collaboration albums like T.I. did? Because let's be honest, I mean, even though this T.I. album was put together very well, he had a lot of help on here, and there's a lot of features on here. And I think is that a good or bad thing at this point in a person's career?
I mean, I think that goes down to how people feel about the artist. He doesn't have anything to prove, and so I'm okay with it. For somebody that maybe may have made a career where their albums tend to be laced with a lot of features, watching them do it on the back end kind of feels like, oh, they still need help. But not with him, and that's why I'm okay with it. That's what I mean. He has nothing to prove. His resume already is what it is. This is another notch in the belt and a pretty nice one, and it gives him more validity to a lot of the claims that he makes. But you know, I'm okay with it because of who he is and who he's already been. So I guess that's a matter of how your career has gone. And his career has gone well enough, and he has made enough epic songs literally by himself. Like literally by himself, including the hooks. That I'm cool with it at this point because my expectation isn't for him to come make a 20-track album that's over an hour long by himself. I don't think that's realistic.
I agree. What are you giving this album out of 5?
This is a 4, but this is a high-end 4. That's what I mean. Like all these albums are similar. I was most impressed with Tip's album today. I don't know if that feeling's going to wane. I don't know if I'm being regionally biased to it. I enjoyed the Tip record the most today. And so I'm going to give it a 4. I don't think it's good enough to give it a 4.5. I'm going to nitpick on some of the beats. I'm going to nitpick on some of the features. I'm going to nitpick on the length. So.
What about content? You think that it covered enough lyrical content and just kind of giving us a window into where T.I. is right now in life, or was it just...
I like that he still has... I mean, I don't know if it gave us any more insight into his life, but he still has a lot of tools left in the bag, and that was nice to hear. It's always nice to hear when somebody, like, you know, that isn't what they used to be, maybe lyrically. It's almost nice when you hear him being like, no, that guy's still in there. And like you can still hear that guy in there on this album. And so like that's impressive. And I think he set out to do that with this album. And I forget which record it is, Mike, because I've been listening to so much music today. But he even referenced to the fact like, no, I can make dope music. I just been making movies and TV shows and running businesses. Like if I get in the lab, I can make really, really dope shit. And I mean, well, you were right. Okay.
I think hip hop artists just never stop making music, and like you said, when you got so many irons in the fire, they also know that everything rotates around who they are as an artist. I mean, even Ice Cube's been in the game 30 years, and he has so much stuff going on, from leagues to film. And he still puts out records because you know what? You love music first, and we know Ice Cube as an MC. And those are the things that keep everything else going. And so, I don't know. I don't see artists even, I know we're saying back end of career, but how much longer do you see T.I. making music? I mean, I don't see him stopping. He said he was going to retire after this next album or something, but he hadn't said that again. So, I don't see that happening.
So, Mike, that's why always when I reference things to somebody not being in their prime, not necessarily being on the back end, because the game is different now.
Right.
That's what I mean. It's like, not in his prime. Don't really know when he's going to quit. But
LL hasn't quit, and LL's been doing this since '85.
Mike? Here's an epiphany I just had while we're speaking. Another thing that makes this album impressive.
What's that?
I think I think he might be the only rapper this year of his stature that doesn't have to rap that made a really dope album. Him and Nas, those are the only.
I was gonna say, Nas.
Yeah, him and Nas are the only dudes who don't have to rap that like went in the booth this year, and like the other, and that's not to knock it, but that's what what you're talking about with all those irons being in the fire. He deserves some kudos for that. He got other irons in the fire. He had millions upon millions 10 years ago. Like he don't have to rap, Mike. Respect that.
Did Jeezy drop this year, or was that was December, I think.
We're not gonna talk about that, Mike.
You didn't like the Jeezy project that dropped with him and Shawty, right? No? Yeah. Well, Jeezy got a talk show coming up, so he got irons in the fire too.
Yeah, but didn't he just do something with Gotti?
Did he?
Yeah, him and Gotti got a track together.
Oh, okay. Well, he also has a talk show coming too. So
I heard about the track, not the talk show.
We're just reporting the news.
I mean, I hear him, on his James St. Patrick shit.
Yeah. I know he was with the Biden campaign for a second, but I don't know.
Really?
You didn't see that's when he was really looking like James St. Patrick. He was sitting next to.
I'm just gonna touch on it briefly, Mike. I've just been watching the debates to see what type of poison I'm going to be having to deal with. But other than that, I've been Ghostface Killer on the rest of it. So,
you know what? I missed last night's debate. I want to catch up on it. I've been following.
It wasn't a debate. It was a town.
A town hall. Yeah.
Between the two, I chose to watch the one who actually looked like he was formally educated, so I didn't see the other one.
Chris Drake asked, where do we think Tip ranks all time? I think that's a very good question. I know last week we kind of discussed where Rick Ross and the Game fit in this echelon of all times. T.I. is a better rapper than them, but I don't know if he has a better catalog of music than them. I think catalog means a lot.
So does being a rapper, Mike. Like, being a rapper matters. Like,
it does.
My immediate thought was to put him slightly ahead of the Game and slightly behind Ross.
You got Rick Ross ahead of T.I. I don't know.
Ross's catalog, I mean, Mike, like, he makes some songs sometimes where you're like, well, I don't want to like it. He's not leaving me much of a choice. He's covering all the bases.
I'm gonna be fair and maybe this is me kind of chickening out a little bit too. Jay says top 30. I'm going to go top 25.
I was thinking
I'm
all three of those guys are somewhere between my 15 to 25 probably.
I'm gonna go top 25. And you know what? And you know we could talk about the whole trap music thing. I have my theories on that. I think that
Snuggling in,
I feel like I feel like Ti's trap music album is a classic. It was groundbreaking for him. It kind of put his mixtapes that were in the streets at the time into album form, and it helped him take off and develop that foundation that he received with Urban Legend to become the superstar that he became. Now, as far as him fathering what we consider the genre of trap music and that sound, I would have to give that to people like Gucci, Jeezy, Shawty Red, and producers who came with that sound just based on what we know of trap music. But still, T.I.'s contribution in the South is huge, even if that credit per se were to be shared or go with somebody else. So saying all that to say, him being such a solo success, having the catalog that he has, being having the skill set that he has, it's hard for me to put Rick Ross ahead of him. But I understand where you're coming from. I would probably put T.I. ahead of him,
But I
just
mean ahead,
based on
like
skill set.
I mean ahead would probably be like, one guy is like 17, one guy is 19. You know what I mean?
You
I
really
just
think Rick Ross has a better catalog than the game? I have to really think about that.
um, ooh, that's a good question. I told you last week when we talked about this. I told you all their catalogs are in the same realm. Of the three, Tip probably has the weakest catalog, but that's because of how the last 10 years have gone, not the first 10.
What happens when you throw Lil Wayne in that mix? Is he in that?
Wayne can be in that mix too. But like I told you, Mike, they're all in that mix. Like all of those guys are in that mix to me. T.I. and Wayne are the best MCs of the four. I think Ross and Game probably have the best catalog of the four, which is why they all deserve to be grouped together, because Game and Ross aren't that far behind Tip and Wayne in my eyes as MCs, especially when you hear all the work that they've done together, because they've all been on tracks together. Like, Ali Boom Aye is a great example. Like, Game and Ross on that track, it's like, I don't really know who has a better verse. I know they sound great together. I know it's really dope. I know they've done really dope records like that, separate together,
Right.
They're all in the same realm to me. They're all in that 15 to 25. It's like I told you. It's like I would probably have those guys somewhere between 17 to 23, and they would take up 4 to 7 of the slots, 4 of those 7 slots, so to speak.
I think Game might rap better than Ross. This is the thing with T.I. where he falls behind.
Mike, he raps better than Ross, but Ross's delivery.
That's what I was gonna say. Ross listens to the songs, right? Not only does Ross beat picking next level, Ross sounds great on records, and he knows how to approach them.
Say that again.
Yeah.
He sounds great on records. He's listening to a beat. He knows how to approach it. He's actually the least talented of the four, but he probably has the best catalog. What does that tell you?
Yeah. He got that West Side Gun in him, man.
Hold on, Mike. And also, what does that tell you about the work, though, too, Mike? And all these guys have great work ethics, but what does that really tell you about his work ethic?
You know what? I think bar for bar, if we were just sitting around in a circle and you had Game, T.I., and Rick Ross rapping, right? T.I. would clearly be the better rapper of the three, but he picks the worst beats of the three by far. No, I'm talking these three. Yeah.
Okay.
Out of those three, we're sitting there in the circle with Ross, Game, and T.I., right? Mm-hmm. T.I.'s probably going to wrap circles around everybody there, but he picks the worst tracks. Out of the three, his beat picking is nowhere near where those guys are.
That's why his catalog isn't as good as those guys, because he's a better rapper than they are, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people would tell you that. But it goes down to the beats. It goes down to the consistency of the albums. Those guys have been making consistently, like Ross and Game haven't made too many duds. Their worst projects been a minute since they've made their worst projects, and most of their stuff is usually good. Like, if nothing else, you'd be like, "Oh, it was pretty good."
This will tell you everything you need to know. It's said that T.I. turned down the Hustling beat, and that's how Ross ended up getting it. And this isn't T.I.'s prime.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, this isn't T.I.'s prime. Yeah. T.I. turned down the Hustling beat. Rick Ross got it, and it was his breakthrough record. So
I've heard enough.
You know,
I think that sums up everything that we're saying. And so, hold on. So,
Chris Drake has a question for you. He says, "So why is Nas ranked so high? He picks worse beats than anybody in the top 30."
I don't know if that's. I don't know if that quote is all the way solid. I mean, first of all, I don't think there's an MC that's been ostracized like Nas. And let's not get it twisted. None of these guys that we're talking about are in Nas's league. Let's not get it conflated or twisted. Like, these guys are great. None of these guys are in the conversation of being the greatest MC of all time. And so what I would submit to you is what I submitted earlier. Nas is one of those guys. He can walk up to you and he'd be like, "Hey, produce my whole album." And it doesn't matter who the producer is. They're picking that whole album up. What does that say about who he is as an MC?
You know what? At the end of the day, man, I think that that's one of the narratives in hip hop that is kind of like overused and not really looked into. Nas's beat picking is not that bad. I don't know if it's something that DJ Vlad started or something, but Nas beat picking ain't that bad. You got Major look in your catalog. Come on.
No. It's not even that, Mike. It's that he's just not as good as a beat picker as Big and Jay and Pop.
Right.
Contemporaries.
No. Now, I disagree with you. I think Tupac's beat selection was not the greatest. I think that All Eyes on Me is a whole different animal.
No, Mike. You're talking about resources. I think you're talking about resources. When Pac got to choose.
You know what? I didn't love the beats that were on Machiavelli like that. Now, All Eyes on Me is a whole different thing. All Eyes on Me was basically Death Row, all hands on deck. It's a compilation. So that's different. When I talk about Pac's beat picking, I'm thinking about Me Against the World and Machiavelli. Because, like you said, we've had this conversation. The track for Dear Mama is nothing special.
No. Pac is special, though.
Yeah. No, I'm just talking, like the tracks.
And so the same rules apply to Nas. Nas is a better beat picker than Pac. But, I mean, Pac is the West Coast guy. You know, it's funny that we're talking about four guys from one era and now four guys from another. Pac is the anomaly of the four, obviously, because he's not the lyricist and he's not from, New York per se. But, Nas's beat selection is one of the things that he gets ostracized about. But what you'll really find when you go back and listen to his catalog is that what you're really talking about, Mike, is him trying to make those hit records that still maybe were hits, but it just didn't sound like he fit properly on him. When you go back and listen to his albums, most of the beats are dope on most of the great projects, which is how great projects should go.
Yeah.
How about this, Mike? The beats on It Was Written aren't as bad as people were saying. It's just some of them tracks was a little too happy. It's like nobody wants to hear Nas rap on Street Dreams.
Well, everybody in the group or in the room right now disagrees with me and says that the Machiavelli beats were fire. I mean, you disagree with me as well?
I'm glad somebody, Mike, I was just trying to give you like a hall pass and stick the All Eyes on Me. Like, I don't even know what to say to you.
Well, you know what? I love the track for Live and Die in L.A.
Since the people are picking on you, I'd like to thank them. Mike, Hail Mary, Bomb First, Me and My Girlfriend, Against All Odds, Crazy. Like, none of To Live and Die in L.A., none of these beats are dope, Mike.
I like To Live and Die in L.A.'s beat. That was nice.
That was the happy shit on there. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I guess you didn't like Toss It Up either, huh?
Actually, Mike, I do like Toss It Up.
I love Toss It Up. I was having an interesting conversation with my guy Brandon. Shout out to Spola. And he always breaks down these intricate diss records and stuff. I didn't realize that Toss It Up was kind of an answer to No Diggity. And they used the same track.
Same loop.
He sat there and dissed Dre.
Use the same loop.
Yeah, he dissed Dre on No Diggity, basically.
Yeah. No more Dre Day. Arrivederci.
But I wasn't catching the whole No Diggity and Toss It Up being basically the same track. And you got Aaron Hall from Guy, and you got Teddy Riley over here. It was a lot going on there.
It's very shady, man. It's very
Yeah,
shady.
Pac was very intricate in his disses. I would say Pac, Jay, and Drake really get personal with their disses, and
They're very shady people.
even the lining up of how Drake put out what's the name of it? Back to Back, where he had like the Blue Jays, Joe Carter album cover, and I think they played the Phillies that night or some crazy shit.
No, it was Joe Carter's home run in 1993
Right.
that beat the Phillies in the World Series.
Yeah,
I took the picture from that.
yeah.
I remember Joe Carter as a Braves fan, Mike. You should too.
Yeah, I remember. Joe Carter was good, man. First it was Kirby Puckett, then him, whatever. But
Mike, I'm sorry, that just made me check the score of the Braves game to make sure that we weren't about to pull an Atlanta Falcons or an Atlanta Hawks, but we're up 2-0 right now.
the Braves are our only hope. All right.
And they've always been our only hope, Mike. Let's get back to this rap shit.
Yeah, let's get back. But anyway, all right. They say All Eyes on Me, obviously classic. Me Against the World's a classic. You can't compare beats that they pick. All right, this is the thing, man. Like, I think that Nas gets a bad rap for, beats. And like you said, I think that he was trying to make commercial records that Big and Jay were making and match those, and that's when he came across as a bad beat picker.
So-
Do you like the beat for Hate Me Now as a Nas fan?
Get out of my head, Mike. I was like, so let's talk about Hate Me Now. It's like that beat is actually dope. It's just not really necessarily dope for Nas, but because Nas is dope, he's still able to make it into a hit record. Is all of that making sense?
I don't think Nas approaches these records in the way that people want them to be approached. Because when you hear some of these instrumentals that people say Nas picked bad beats for, they're actually pretty dope.
No. So Mike, let's go to If I Ruled the World right quick when people are like, Nas sold out. It's like, hold on.
I hate that record.
Hold on, Mike. So hold on. So that's a Curtis Blow sample with Lauryn Hill singing the hook and Nas rhyming over the track, and people are telling me that that's a sellout record. That sounds like hip hop to me, Mike. Curtis Blow, Lauryn Hill, and Nas don't sound like hip hop to you?
He kept it realer than real. You know the story behind It Was Written, right?
In a do-rag in Queensbridge in the video, Mike. I mean, how much more realer do we want him to keep it?
Well,
taking a Curtis Blow sample, having Lauryn Hill sing, having him rap, and doing the damn video in the bridge with the do-rag on.
Andre says, I do feel Nas shouldn't have had Salaam Remi as his go-to producer. He did make You Look, but
and that's why whoever's saying that.
But his sound is outdated.
No, next person. No.
Made You Look's great. No, don't get me wrong. I see where Andre's coming from because Made You Look is awesome. But Salaam Remi didn't give us a lot of those.
Salaam Remi helped produce the score too. It's not like Salaam Remi's.
He helped produce the other shit. Blunted on Reality.
I'm pretty certain he's on the score too, Mike.
Blunted on Reality is what he got.
Nope, you're wrong, Mike.
I might be wrong. I don't know, but I know that Salaam Remi worked with the Fugees early on, and Blunted on Reality, respectfully, is garbage. I think that the Fugees would say the same thing, but they hadn't found their sound at that point.
That's funny. Primarily, the score's production was handled by the Fugees themselves, with additional production from Salaam Remi.
What did he? Okay, all right. Well, yeah.
You already know I'm about to pull it up. Keep going.
Yeah.
We can talk about Black Thought.
We'll get to Black Thought in 1 second. I do want to. I want to clear Nas's name in that. I don't think Nas is that bad of a beat picker. I think that his approach to some of these records just weren't the best. Now, I do think that people wanted to hear him work with Premier more so than working with Salaam Remi. Go ahead. What did you find?
Well, I mean, first of all, Salaam Remi produced Fuji.
Oh, okay. Well, never
And
mind.
and
Let me shut up.
hold on, and he's the only production credit on that song on the album that has multiple production credits on almost every track. So he did that.
That's a great one.
I mean that
I
made you look.
apologize,
Like,
Salam
I
Remy.
mean, so I mean, so he made Fuji Line Made You Look. So he made two classic rap songs.
Yeah. I apologize, Salam Remy out there. Yeah, that's some.
Very disrespectful. He did some Amy Winehouse stuff too.
Oh yeah. He did a lot of Amy Winehouse stuff. Now I do know that. But I do think. Who do you think was the best producer for Nas? Because in my mind, obviously, I feel like "The World Is Yours" is the best produced record on Illmatic. But I think that Nas and Large Professor, I really would have liked to have seen them work together more. I know Premier is Premier, but Premier has a group, right? I wish that Nas and Large Professor could have been that tandem. Because you know who was supposed to actually produce It Was Written, right? That was supposed to be Marley Marl.
I remember that rumor.
Yeah, and I guess, when what's Steve Stout got involved, it went to Trackmasters. Those are his guys.
It's very problematic.
I'm just saying, that's what happened. Allegedly.
So who's the guy you're picking though? Pete Rock? Is Pete Rock the guy you would pick for Nas? Or
the guy I would pick for Nas is Large Professor. That's his guy from day one. That's what I'm picking.
That is his guy from day one. He probably knows Nas' sound the best, but I'm gonna throw a little caveat at you. I would pick Havoc.
The World Is Yours? Not The World Is Yours. I'm sorry. It Ain't Hard to Tell?
No, Havoc.
I'm just saying. Large Professor did It Ain't Hard to Tell.
I'm going to tell you why.
Halftime?
I'm going to tell you why.
You're the Man?
I love You're the Man.
Yeah.
And It Ain't Hard to Tell. Those are just brilliant rap records, but I'm going to tell you why. Nas is a poet. And Large Professor's beats bring out the poetic nature in Nas, but a lot of other producers can do that. Havoc brings out nasty Nas. A Havoc track brings out nasty Nas. It brings out the Grizzly MC, the guy that really spit that shit, like from the block. That's what Havoc's beats do for Nas. What a lot of Nas's projects have been missing is that, because he does that exceptionally well. Go listen to the setup and go listen to his verse on Live Nigga Rap. Those are Havoc beats. That's Nasty Nas.
Bro.
Nasty Nas is the best MC anybody's ever heard. Havoc brings that out. How about this? Nas is super poetic on Watch Them Niggas by the Trackmasters. He can do that poetic stuff that he does on Large Pro almost on anybody's track. And I'm not saying that to knock Large Professor. A Havoc beat brings out the Grizzly side of Nas that we don't often see. It brings out the Made You Look in Nas.
I love Live Nigga Rap. I love Live Nigga Rap. Like, that shit is crazy.
I told you, Mike, the best beat on It Was Written is the setup, and they went crazy on Live Nigga Rap.
They did.
Like, Live Nigga Rap makes you not want to listen to If I Rule the World, because it's like when you hear Nas rap like that, it's like, well,
that's where I was at.
Hear Nas politic.
Well, speaking of which, I think that's a good transition over to this new Black Thought album, Volume 3, Cain and Abel, Stream of Thought. I know I mixed all those titles up, but that's the whole title at some point when you pull them.
Streams of Thought, Volume 3, Cain and Abel.
There we go. I was all over the place on that.
You're all good.
What are your initial thoughts on the Black Thought album?
It's really dope. But it's also really safe. And I'm also about to say some things about his album that I said about Benny's album, because I kind of feel this way about it. It's not a Roots project, but production-wise, it might as well have been. And so you might as well have made a Roots album. And where the hell is Alchemist and Primo and Havoc again? Like, it's the same shit. I'm about to say the same shit again. Where the hell are these guys? And who keeps telling these guys to not go to these guys that sound great rapping like that with these guys? Like, you know how I feel about Thought, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, and I love the project, and I love what he's doing with it. I love, how he's, spitting this shit. I love how he's uplifting the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I love when he explains relationships. We were talking about that last week. The hypnotic, break you off, you got me.
Yeah.
We Could Be Good is in that same vein. But Mike, just like how I felt about War Paint on Benny's album, It's how I feel about Staking with Schoolboy Q on this album. It's like, where's that though? Like,
yeah.
You know, can't nobody fuck with you when you do that, right?
See, this is I think that, you know, and I know it's gonna sound like this to our
Mike, it's the same thing with Nas rapping over Havoc's beats to the setup. It's like, why aren't you doing that?
We'll see.
Like, who keeps telling these guys not to do that? Like, who keeps telling these guys not to do that?
Because it's weird. It's funny you say that because when I heard the Schoolboy Q track, my antennas went up. And so, are we the only ones that feel like this? Like,
no, we can't.
Are we the only?
And I want you to understand that once again, and this is why, Mike, before we had the show, I said I'm gonna end up saying a lot of things that I said about Benny, about Thought, just in a different way. Much like Benny, expectations are different, just for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You are like Mike, lyrically, right now as we stand, Nas and Rakim may be the all-time standard. Black Thought is the walking standard right now, though.
I will say this about Black Thought.
Mike,
and I don't want to... No. You're right. I'm about to confirm what you're saying, in my opinion. I think that Black Thought is the best elder MC, period. I mean, as far as like being this good at this age.
Are we talking bar for bar?
Bar for bar at this age, he's better and better. Do you think anybody at this point in their career could go on Flex's show and rap in the way that he did? I know that was 2 years ago, but he could do that right now.
Mike, how about this, Mike? I'm going to go a step further. I don't know if there's anybody right now, period.
Right. No.
That age bracket shit, that's what I'm saying. He's the walking standard. I'm not
so
talking about...
You think Black Thought's the best lyricist right now, 2020?
No. Okay, so like Conway's the best MC right now, and we need to give him his flowers for that.
No, I'm talking about lyricists.
Like, he's the walking standard for lyrics. Yes. Yeah. He's the walking standard for lyrics right now. Yes. And in terms of in the pantheon of lyrics, he's top 5. Without question.
Well, what about people like...
Mike, and so he's going to get rated like that. I'm going to rate you like that. Because that's who you are. You're the walking standard for lyrics. You're one of the 5 greatest lyricists that ever lived. I'm going to rate your album like that.
As you should.
Yeah. So where the fuck is Alchemist, Havoc, and Primo?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do you think that he was trying to actually accomplish with this album? Because that means everything as well. Like, is this whole series something that he's just trying to round out?
He's an artist, so it's a very thought-provoking album. Mm-hmm. I like that about it. Thought-provoking album. It's very balanced. I feel like for every gritty record, there's like a balanced or like roots-ish sounding record. It's like every time it gets gritty, a roots-sounding record or a record I feel like the Roots could have made for him comes on after those joints. And that would be my biggest complaint about the album. The album happens really fast, too. You know, it's 12 songs, but it's 35 minutes. It was a little different hearing the intro and just hearing Thought vocally doing something distorted with his voice because, you know, like, it's Thought. He don't got to do shit like that.
Right.
But he tried something different, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. It worked well, and it made for a good transition. I love the way the album is pieced together sequence-wise. Was super impressed with the sequence, the song structure. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the beat selection except for I feel like it tread Roots water, which is why it's like, well, dude, these are your solo projects. Your first 2 projects, you like what? Salah Remy did one.
Salah Remy again, and we got Ninth Wonder.
The Ninth.
Yeah.
And both of those are great producers to me. And
you know what? And I think Salam's was better than Ninth, and I'm more of a Ninth fan than Salam.
See, that's funny. I love them both probably equally. I'm probably more of a Ninth fan too, but I thought Salam's joint was probably better, but that's only because Making of a Murderer was on there.
Yeah, I said Salam's was better. Yeah.
Yeah, Making of a Murderer.
Yeah.
Like, but that's why it's better to me. Like, that's the difference between those two. But that brings me back to it's like, you know, why? I mean, I get you teaming up with the producer and stuff, but it's like, you're a Thought. It's like, if you really want to know the truth, Mike, right now, he's the guy more than any other guy that I would love to hear with Large Professor, with Pete Rock, with Havoc, with Preem, with Alchemist, like all those guys. I would love if all those guys were lined up and throw him like a digital of 5 beats, and he picks 1 or 2 from each one and goes ham. Like, I would love that more than anything right now, because he's the walking standard for lyrics, and I would love to hear what it sounds like if the guy who is the walking standard for lyrics were to get up with the producers who I think sound best and may bring out the best in his style. Now, he may have something different for his vision. That's okay.
Because like you said, he's an artist, and that's the thing that makes him different than most of the MCs that have that lyrical beasting ability that he has. That he is an artist and he conceptualizes a lot of his material, so we don't get to hear those Schoolboy Q records on 10 straight joints, like somebody who's just trying to beast through this whole thing.
You want to know who Black Thought is, and this is a good way of summing him up. If you went on iTunes last night or on any other streaming service, at 11:50, you could pre-download T.I.'s album and Benny's album. It was already sitting there waiting for you. Thought's album didn't pop up until all the music was available. You couldn't pull it up, and I tried to pull it up on multiple platforms just to pre-down, and you can't, and that's who Thought is. It's like, he just gonna give it to you, and it's like, well, just give it to me then.
Yeah.
Don't give me the Roots album. And that would be my only complaint of the album. And that's most of the reason why this album is a 4 out of 4.5 too. It's because of the expectations. Because much like Benny's album, how about this, Mike? I told you about to say some of the same stuff again. This track is 13 songs. Benny's is 12, but this has an outro, so it's the same number of tracks, Mike. And once again, I would probably give this album a 4.5. There was a beat from Alchemist, beat from Havoc, beat from Preem.
Do you think that this album did anything to up Black Thought's overall ranking in all-time great MCs? Does this push him over, or does he kind of just stay where you have him? Because you got him in like, what, top 15-ish? Something like that?
So he's top. So how about this, Mike? In the early, if you would have asked me in 2002 where he would have been all time, I would have probably had him 4th or 5th. And then cats kept on rapping and making other catalogs and stuff. And he has a big Roots catalog, which I think you know how I feel about that. This is his first real solo player to me, because those other 2 are EPs. This is more of an album, and it feels more like an album. And that makes me want to put him in my top 10, which is exactly what the fuck I'm doing, because that's where he really belongs. And that's where I'm going to put him for making a really good full-length album. Solo.
So, we got a new top 10 member. You got Black Thought is officially in your top 10.
He should be there. But it's like the fact that I told you, Mike, I need to hear a really dope solo project from him. This is it. It's not quite what I wanted or what I expected or what I think it should be, but is it dope as hell? Yeah, because I said to myself today, it's right there with the Allegory, I think. And I would put the Allegory right now would probably be 5.
Okay.
After the 4 we've been talking about the most, which is Pray for Paris, From a King to a God, Alfredo and King's Disease. Okay. And so I would put Streams of Thought Volume 3 in the Allegory right behind it. And also, too, part of that is also, too, is like, don't tell me that there's not balance out here just because you motherfuckers ain't listening. Go listen to Thought's album and Royce's album.
Yeah.
Stop telling me that everybody's talking about all this shoot 'em up and drug dealing and all this. Like, everything that Griselda's talking about that cats don't like, they're telling cats, well, go listen to the Allegory.
Yeah.
Except for you're going to find out that Griselda's all over that shit, too.
Griselda is having one of the better years that we've ever seen in hip hop, and so yes, we can expect.
Where does their hold on? That might be a whole show. Where does their year rank? Because I mean, Wu in '95 is the only thing I can think of.
Rockefeller, and it's hard to really pin down a year. It might have been 2002 when Rockefeller had records all over the place.
Mike,
but they're not.
Mike, they've released. Mike, they got
what?
Yo, Mike, they may have made more dope shit this year than Rockefeller's whole run. Like, what are we talking about?
They made a lot, man. And then when you add Bodie James into the fold,
No, he's in the fold. He's part of the crew. Like Scrape the Bowls on A Price of Tea in China. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's Benny on there. There's him and Benny going back and forth. They sound great together too.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
Mike. Rockefeller's run is not better than this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Jay's better than all of them. Jay's better than almost everybody else who ever lived. Like, Jay's run was better, but not Rockefeller's run.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were listening to because Rockefeller's run really consisted of Jay's great albums
Mm-hmm.
and The Truth by Beanie Siegel.
Well, see, I'm thinking a little bit after that. I'm thinking about when.
None of the stuff after that was great. They were just on the scene, Mike. I mean, The Blueprint. That's why I said Jay's stuff and The Truth by Beanie Siegel is only great material to come out the camp.
No, I'm just saying, like when Beanie really found himself around the second album time, and when Freeway had Philadelphia Freeway coming, and you had like a lot of the underground tapes and stuff. Because I remember hearing
Empire
it.
Strikes Back tape, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when they used to jump on Flex. I know, I think it was Future Flavors here in Atlanta, and they would have like I think it was E.T. show, and they would play a whole bunch of Rockefeller records that never came out, and like Petey Crack had stuff out there. You had the Young Guns, saying all that to say that if that would have happened in this era, a lot of that music would have came out. Dame had those guys working, and I don't even want to give Jay credit for this, but this was around Blueprint 2-ish time after Ether happened. When Ether happened, that whole camp was hungry because they had got bombed on. And Nas kind of had Rockefeller scattering like roaches at the time, and them dudes were putting out street material. And so that would be the 1 year that I would pinpoint for Rockefeller if we're talking about Rockefeller as a camp. And that's when they enlisted Dipset too. So a lot of the Cameron stuff, you know.
I mean, Mike, so I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to say it because I like most of those guys that were rapping for Rockefeller. Siegel was one of my favorite rappers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He was literally one of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? But can't none of those guys fuck with Nas on their best day, and part of why they scattered is because a guy that they thought was the greatest MC of all time and who they looked up to just took a L right in front of them. That's why they scattered. So you can like talk all of this if you want to. If they ever would have stepped up to the plate, not only would they have gotten served, their careers would have been over. Mike, Nas would have ended their careers, and that's why they're no, Mike, and that's why their stuff ended up on the sideline, because Jay and Dame were smart enough to know that, even though they may not have been smart enough to know that. You feel me?
I think Siegel did his job though, because you know his whole thing was even.
I'm talking about Siegel. You see how I prefaced Siegel and how I felt about Siegel.
No. I don't even think they knew it was Jay's responsibility to get at Nas anyway. Like Siegel said, man, leave it up to Hove to X out Tommy Buns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, look, I'm handling Jada. That's enough.
It's like, Mike,
what else you want me to do? I'm handling Jada.
Mike, you can't run around talking like you big and bad when your king just took an L. That's what I'm saying.
But no. Listen to me though. Okay, he took out Jada. That was more than what he was supposed to do.
No, that's just Siegel. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Siegel took out Jada. We forget that part in history. You know what I mean? Like, no. That gets overlooked.
No, Mike, I haven't forgotten that because that happened shortly after Kiss the Game Goodbye came out, and that was like for the streets, kind of like what took Jada out of that Biggie, Nas, and J realm.
I think that Jada
album with Siegel.
I think Jada's longevity and the fact that he's been able to be around so long has put him in a different place. But if we're talking about during that time, with the albums that Beanie Siegel had and the way that battle went, Beanie Siegel was better than Jada at that point. No one will believe that looking back on it, but that's what it was.
Mike, my older brother used to tell me, and he used to spit too, probably nicer than me. He used to tell me when Siegel was in his prime, Siegel was top 5. And I used to sometimes be like, top 5? And every time he would go put some of Siegel shit on, and it would be random. Every time he would do it, he would put something different on. And it's like, I couldn't tell him no because I couldn't think of 5 guys. that could rap better than that at the time. Because at the time when he would play that stuff, it's like, well, Jay and Nas are better than him. And then after that, it's like, I really don't know identifiably who's better, because this is after he did that shit to Jada. You know what I'm saying? And
Sigel had that.
Like, Mike, you remember the Kiss the Game Goodbye freestyle?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Mike. Like, that's one of the best disses ever.
Sigel had that.
The whole X Out Tommy Buns, isn't that where that came from? Mike, he snapped. Mike, the beat was still Mike. He was still going when they took the beat off.
Crazy.
It's like we still don't even know what he kept on saying. He kept on going, Mike.
Yeah, fucking. I don't want to stop. Yeah. Listen. He killed Jada, and respectfully, but
and that's what I mean. And hold on, it's not like Jada came soft at him. Jada came with some bars.
Oh yeah,
Jada came with some shit.
Like how Jada and Styles murdered 50. But see, the thing is, what made Beanie Sigel special, he had that Scarface element in him where you felt Sigel. Like, those are things, he could do things on records that Jay couldn't do with his voice, where you actually felt, like, feel it in the air and stuff like that. Jay can't do that.
Mike, Feeling in the Air is one of the most underrated rap songs that's ever been made.
Chilling.
Why more people don't talk about their record. Mike, how about this? Only Tupac and Scarface can make that better than Sigel did. They're the only two guys that can even like hit that level where you feel it like that, and vocally and even lyrically at times with Pac, where you can touch it. And I'll say this to you right now. Siegel's a better lyricist than Face and Pac, and you know how
I was gonna say that.
Those guys.
I was gonna say that. I think that obviously, you know, Pac and Face, they have a whole different element with them.
What do you say on that?
And
85% of communication nonverbal.
Yeah.
You know their story. The other 5 man time will show you. Just know you. Pull your strings, you the puppet masters. Fuck them other bastards. Watch who you puffing after.
Because Sigel could outbar them if, you know, it came to that.
I mean, Mike, Sigel could outbar Jay if you really want to know. I thought the best thing about the Stillmatic diss was how Nas brought up, like, compared to Beans You Whack. Like, because lyrically, ooh, you remember It's On off Siegel's best album, The Becoming?
Run through you niggas like a glitch in the computer, nigga. I'm a sewer nigga. Like, Jay has to. Jay had to rap.
No, Mike. BC Fred Krueger niggas. Nightmare, your medulla, nigga.
You scared because I glue a jigger? Yeah.
Like, Mike, he was
like a compository sketch.
This, Mike? That was Jay's prime, and not too many guys could rap bar for bar with Jay around that time.
And Sigel did it all the time.
And not only did he do it all the time, he left you wondering if he had the better verse oftentimes.
I mean,
how great is that?
He made 3 great records with Jay and Scarface. This is the level that Sigel was at.
Those are classics. No, all 3 of those records are classics.
This is the level Sigel was at. And it wasn't like he was the weak link on there either. This sounded like a trio that was like, yo, these guys are on the same level. I feel like this. This is how I feel. I feel like, I think on all 3 of those records, all 3 of them have the best verse on each of the 3 records. I feel like Guess Who's Back, that's Jay. Yep. I feel like This Can't Be Life, that's Face. And I feel like Somehow, Someway, that's Beans.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Mike.
And that's how even that trio is. And that's how good Beanie Sigel was.
Now, Mike, now ain't Scarface and Jay-Z in everybody's top 10 pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all we need to know about how dope Sigel is.
Beanie Sigel is unsung. It's unfortunate whatever happened to Rockefeller has impacted his legacy in that way and the way people look back at his career. But Siegel's one of the nicest ever. I know T.I. was just celebrating I'm Serious, and he threw a throwback picture up there when he was about to go to the studio and record 2 Glock 9s, his first song ever. That was on the Shaft soundtrack. He was talking about how geeked he was to be rapping on a record with Beanie Sigel. That's where Beanie Sigel was, man. And it was like he was second in command all day.
What's that shit on The Becoming? Ooh, Mike, Look at Me Now.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to know what type of MC like Sigel is, go listen to Look at Me Now. and go listen to One Shot, One Kill with Redman. His verse on One Shot, One Kill was probably the verse of the year that year.
Hey, yo, he was rapping silly there. Yo, Joey says, can I send you something dope that shows that I can spit a lot of them. I'm from an era where I'm nasty with the pen. Yeah, send it over.
Send it to me. Yeah.
So, all right, so this is what we got. Benny the Butcher is...
Hold on. We're going to tell you if your shit not dope, though.
First
to let you know, so don't be coming up here live like, you know what I'm saying? I hope that shit's live, you know.
Tell them to call in and spit, right?
Mike's still nice with the bars. I'm still all right, too. We're going to let you know.
Yeah. But man.
I done heard you freestyling a couple times in the background, Mike. You still got it.
I can rhyme a little bit. But Benny, you got him at 4. 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Black Thought, you mean? Black Thought?
I thought you said Benny was going to be 4 out of 5 for you.
What you mean?
I'm reviewing. We're reviewing.
The rundown, Benny. I thought you said Beanie because we just got done.
Oh no.
Yeah, the Benny's gonna be like these are all 4s. They're just 4s different.
So we got 444.
444.
Joey, the email is info@accordingtohiphop.com. That's according the number 2 hiphop.com. So 444. But it sounds like, all right, even with all of these being 4, how would you, if somebody asked you out of the 3 albums that came out today, which ones should they listen to first, second, and third?
The T.I. is the most fun to listen to, so go listen to Tip first. I would go to Benny after that, and then I would finish off with Thought, because I thought Thought made the most balanced record. Lyrically, of course, it's the best record of the 3. And it's just a really nice overall feel, you know, for people, especially if you're not as super acquainted with Black Thought as I am, you're probably going to enjoy the record more than I did. I'm just so super acquainted with the catalog. It's like, nah, I want to hear you do 100% done. How about this? If he going to be on his root shit, I want to hear 100% Dundee and Concerto of the Desperado. I don't want to hear Respond, React or Table of Contents. This album sounded very Table of Contents and Respond, React-ish to me instead of 100% Dundee and Concerto of the Desperado. And he sounds great both ways, but he's like the best like when he's on that other shit. Yeah.
Well,
globe traveling, throwing your verse like the javelin. Things fall apart and them seeds unraveling. Backstage whispering to management like, change the order. There's no way that we could rock after them. My man sparked the fro like, what's happening? From the latest hiatus, the roots back again. That shit, Mike.
Well, on that note, we're going to be out. And I don't know what's coming out next week. Is it ELE 2 that's dropping next week?
I think that's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks.
I don't know what to expect from that, man. Like,
that kind of caught me by surprise that was like even in the works. But let me ask you,
he's been talking about it for a long time. But
where do you think about where Busta is at as an MC? Like, just overall, like, where do you think? Like, how do you feel?
This is how I feel, and I've said to this people before. I think we need to do some sort of verses, like where we actually get DJs involved, and you have one DJ represent one artist, because we're never gonna actually see Nas's catalog matched up with Jay-Z's catalog. Saying all that to say, I would take Busta and go against anyone. Busta's catalog is stupid. Busta as an MC in his prime.
I think his records are more stupid than his catalog is, but I hear you.
You know what I mean. He doesn't, and that's the only thing in his catalog that he misses. He doesn't have that drop-dead cultural classic album like A Ready to Die or something like that. I love ELE, personally.
I love The Common. The Common's probably my favorite. Everything Remains Raw is like just epic to me.
Woo!
Yeah, that's epic.
Best voice. He has the best voice ever. He has the best voice ever in hip hop. I don't care what anyone says.
You think so? Is that how you feel?
Ever. Who could do the hook for Victory? Who could do Wild for the Night? No one.
Oh, hold on. You mean most versatile voice ever, not best, Mike. Like
he has
Pac or Method Man have the best voice ever. You're talking about who's doing the most with it is probably Busta.
I still think he has a better voice than them. I
really?
do.
You think he has a better voice than Meth and Pac and Big?
I do. Busta
Ooh,
Rhymes'
that's
voice
high.
is crazy.
No, it's crazy. I have him like top 10, like voice wise, vocally, but I'm more impressed with what he does vocally with it. I would give
I
him
see
that
what you're
over those
saying.
guys.
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I'm talking about when you hear it. That's what I be saying about Nas. It's like, no, he has a great voice. Like, it's nice to hear his voice. Like Biggie, it's nice to
Well,
hear his
Busta,
voice.
man,
Method Man, it's nice to hear his voice. Pac, it's nice to hear his voice. They sound pleasing to the ears like their voice is an instrument. I don't know if Busta has that. He just does more with
but
a
he
gifted
can,
voice.
but he
his
can
voice
do
is
that. Like when he tones it down, it's like
that's
hit
what
you with
I
no
mean
delay
about,
into
like,
what
he
you
can-
saying, yo.
That's what I mean about how he can do more. But that's what I mean. It's like, what does Busta's real voice even sound like?
Busta's real voice is that ha. It's
That's
crazy.
what I mean. Okay, so if that's his real voice, it's a great voice. But what he does with his voice is like, is better than anybody's ever done.
I think we take for granted what he did on Wu Ha. Like even we've heard it so long.
No, I don't, Mike. No, I don't.
That shit is amazing.
Motherfucker stole my flow. Eedy, beady, buddy.
No one can do that, man. And like I said, whenever I hear Victory, I hear that hook and I'm like, who could do that? Nobody.
No.
No.
Like when you said that, I had never thought about it on that level. But when you said that, that's very valid.
Even
But then
you remember Wild for the Night, right?
But Mike, here's what I mean about a great voice. Right after you said that, I thought about Biggie's verse. Used to call me fat, so now you call me Castro because his voice is great.
Yeah. Well, Andre says that Big has the best rap voice. You know what? Real quick. Well, you asked me where I put Busta. Everything combined, longevity.
Where is he?
Hits, lyric ability, performance ability. He's in my top 10. I'm just gonna say it like that.
Whoa,
he is.
Mike.
Yeah, Busta Rhymes is in my top 10. I appreciate Busta. I think Busta's overlooked. I think
he is, but I don't. Whoa,
I think where he falls short is lyrical content. But you know what? I'm okay with that.
I don't feel that way, Mike. That's why I brought up songs and not catalog, because it's that he's been around so long and there aren't any real identifiable classics. And he has an issue in the sense that it's like he has too many classic songs, Mike, to not have classic albums. And that is why he's outside of my top 10 and more in my 10 to 25.
I think that to me,
but I can't put no. I get what you're saying about for you, but it's just like I can't put him there because if somebody, how about this? If I were to sit up there and be like, yeah, I got Busta at 9, and then we get to talking about certain cats that's in that realm, well, almost like Mike, like he's not better than Ice Cube, even though he might be a better rapper than Ice Cube, because Ice Cube got like 2 or 3 classics, and that's not counting straight out of Compton.
You know what? Last week we mentioned, I mentioned the top 5, and I think I had Pac at 5. I want to replace Pac with Cube. I got Cube in my 5, so I would push Pac to 6. You don't think Cube's better than Pac?
Hell no.
Man.
And I love Mike. You know what, Mike? You got a real bad habit of getting me to talk bad about people who like I happen to love. And
Death Certificate, America's Most
classics.
I think Death Certificate's better than any Tupac album ever made. I do. That's just my opinion. It is. What album's better than Death Certificate? All Eyes on Me? Okay.
Volume 1. I told you, Mike. Volume 1 of All Eyes on Me is one of the 10 best albums ever made.
I was just listening to True to the Game last night, man, and I was listening to
Mike, almost every song on All Eyes on Me, Volume 1, is not just a banger, but a classic.
I think Volume 2 is what puts it below Death Certificate for me.
Mike, Volume 1 is so high, I do not agree.
But, bad songs will bring an album down.
There's not a lot of bad songs on Volume 2. It just doesn't have it's just not as epic as Volume 1. Volume 1 is one of the 10 best albums I ever heard, though.
But we can't separate them. They came together, man. We can't do that.
That's what I'm telling you. Volume 1 is so good that even with the missteps on Volume 2, still better than Death Certificate. That's how great Volume 1 is.
I would like to
Ice
put
Cube's
that.
a better. I mean, if we're just talking bar for bar, Ice Cube's a better MC. And
Who's the better storyteller?
Cube. Oh, that was rough. Ice Cube's a better storyteller. Bird in hand. Yeah, Ice Cube, man. Ice Cube. Cube is, I mean,
I was listening to that yesterday, too.
Cube is up there with Face, and I mean, how about this? After Ghostface, Scarface, Slick Rick, Nas, and Big, I would go to Ice Cube next. So he's right there. And to be honest with you, before Big and Nas came along, he was like there.
Yeah.
Like top 5 easy. Like top 5 easy before Big and Nas came along, and like just like they're Big and people understand like Big and Nas changed the way people rhyme in terms of how visual the narrative was when they told you a story. It's like guys that came before them didn't get that vivid.
Well, yeah. I hate that we got to go because I was gonna go into my whole Busta Rhymes over Redman and Method Man thing.
It's time to go. It's time to go. Maybe over.
You ain't got Busta over. Look.
I got Busta over Meth. I don't have him over Red, and I don't have him over Meth.
Why not? Why not?
Mostly because of Muddy Waters and There Is a Dark Side, Mike, and those 2 albums are better
than what
Busta's ever made.
I love Muddy Waters. One of my favorites.
Matter of fact, Mike, What the album, There Is a Dark Side, and Muddy Waters are better than anything that Busta's.
Let's go song for song though. And do you think Redman? And I know we were talking about this last week. Do you think Redman would beat Busta Rhymes in a versus? He would not. Let's just be real, man. I love Redman.
No, he would no, he would not, Mike.
And I love Muddy Waters. I think Muddy Waters and ELE are 2 of my favorite albums of its kind.
Mike, be objective. What's better, Muddy Waters or ELE? Be honest with yourself. Really.
I'm gonna give it a slow. Nigga, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's hard for me. It really is. I'm not trying to be funny. That's hard for me. I guess Muddy Waters. I guess. Because it's a couple of bad songs on ELE. But see, even
ain't no bad songs on Muddy Waters, Mike.
No, it's not. It's not. But the extremely great songs on ELE are just like, whoa.
So, how about this? That's because Busta's a home run hitter. Redman's never tried to do anything more than hit singles and doubles in his life. Like, he's cool with the single and double shit. Like, he ain't even trying like that.
I agree with you. Busta is a home run hitter.
Like, how about this? Stardom happened for Redman. Busta has star personality and star quality. Stardom just happened for Redman because he just like the MTV Crib shit, Mike. Doing How High with Method Man. It just happened for Redman. He's just like stupid.
I agree.
Mike. I mean, his verse for How High was verse of the year in '95 in The Source, the original version.
Yeah.
How High, his last verse. Yeah, that ain't the first or the second or third time I think they gave him that shit either, Mike. Like people don't understand Funk Doctor Spot. Like Mike, if you want to talk about somebody that's not in my top 10 that I be wanting to put in my top 10, him and Thought are like those guys.
Listen, man, growing up, Redman in 96, 94, I used to I couldn't wait to hear Redman
verse.
This,
Mike? You know how about this, Mike? If they were doing a starting lineup of teams for hip hop artists in the 1990s, Redman would be in your starting 5.
Rockin' Redman and Naughty, all of my kitty cat.
I'm from Breaking Gay in a brawl where the titties at, and I'm living at. For life, we push weight. Fuck the state pen. Fuck hoes at Penn State. Listen close as Francis. Pray a mantis. Stop, Mike. It's time to go.
All right, man. You have a good one, and I'm waiting for ELE too, man. This is gonna be great.
I hope so.